Okay, Rachel, do you want to take the other book that's there that has the deer on the front and it says Bambi on it? B-A-M-B-I. And the name of this book is Bambi, Friends of the Forest. I bet he has a lot of friends in the forest. Let's open the book. And look at where the little deer, Bambi, and two of his friends are. And this says the same thing it says on the front, doesn't it? Bambi, Walt Disney's Bambi, Friends of the Forest. Well, let's see who these friends are. Maybe if we turn to the next page, we can find out who some of them are. This has a lot of exciting animals on it, doesn't it? I bet you could tell me every one that's on there. And this is how this little story goes. Wake up, everyone, chirped the bluebird one fine autumn morning. The prince is here. Bambi's friends watched as the handsome fawn walked gracefully down the path. The opossums called out their upside-down greetings, and the squirrel and chipmunk chattered hello too. How would you like to be a possum and hang upside down like that? Might be fun. And that owl over there, he's winking at us with one eye. I'll bet you can find some interesting things on that page. Let's turn and see what Bambi's going to do on the next page. Today, Bambi is going to the lake for the very first time. Thumper, the bunny, explained to the owl. Then he added proudly, and I will introduce him to the animals who live there. Thumper's that little rabbit, isn't he? Oh, bunny, it says here. I better call him a bunny if that's what the book says. Then it says, the owl looked down at Bambi and said, "Remember what your mother told you, young fellow. Be alert in the forest and run quickly if ever you meet with danger." Bambi listened carefully, for surely his mother and the wise old owl knew what was best for him. I guess that was good advice that the owl and his mother told him. We'll have to find out in the rest of the book whether he kept that advice, won't we? Okay, let's turn over the page and see what Bambi does now. It's kind of fun to look and see what other animals. It looks like there's a new animal there, isn't there? Not far away, Thumper's sisters had discovered a small hollow log. "Would you like to play too, Bambi?" they asked, as they raced in one end and out the other. "Oh, I'd like to, but I'm too big for that game," Bambi replied politely. "Besides, I am very busy." I bet those little sisters of Thumper's had a good time crawling through that fallen log. I can remember, Rachel, when we went out to a big forest in California when your mother was a littler girl, and we went where there were great big trees. And they were so big that when they fell down on the ground, they were big enough around that they could walk right through them. And we walked through them, even Grandma did. That was fun. Now back to the book. Then Bambi and Thumper came to the burrow where their friend Flower lived. They asked the little skunk if he wanted to join them, but Flower said no. "There's a very mean fox in the woods," he warned, peeking out from behind two big daisies. Sounds like he's afraid of the fox, isn't he? Have you ever seen a skunk? Have you ever seen one when they're run over on the road? They smell so bad. I wouldn't want to smell like a skunk, would you? Well, it's time to turn the page again. It looks like he's getting farther into the forest all the time, doesn't it? And it looks like there's some more new friends on this page. And it says, now Thumper knew that he should be afraid too, but he had so many things to do today that he just didn't have time to worry about a fox. So off he hopped, and Bambi followed close behind, as Thumper led the way deeper and deeper into the forest. Bambi is becoming very brave," said Mother Quail, as the fawn pranced by, and her family agreed. Bambi had never been so far from home, and never ever before had he been away from his mother. Have you seen a quail? We had some quails here last year. They came in the yard. They tried to get back to our garden, but I shushed them back out into the road. Because down on the street down next to us, the quails got into the gardens and ate all the carrots and the lettuce and everything. And I didn't want them eating my garden. It looks like they haven't stopped going into the forest yet, so we'll have to turn the page again and find out what they're going to do. They found another interesting animal friend. When they finally arrived at the lake, Bambi turned to Thumper. "It is as beautiful as you said it would be," he said, and then, sounding a bit disappointed, he asked, "But where are all the animals?" Out of the tall grass came a big green frog. "They're all here," he told them, "but they're hiding. That wicked fox was here this morning." And then, with a hop and a plop, he disappeared into the water. Looks like a big frog, doesn't it? All the animals are hiding from the fox. I wonder if Bambi had ought to hide too. And Thumper. Can you see those things in the middle of the page? You know what they're called? They're called cattails. Have you ever seen cattails? They're interesting things. When they break open, there's this fuzzy white stuff that scatters all over like feathers. I guess that's how you could describe it. Maybe your mother or dad can tell you a better way of describing them. Well, let's turn the page again. I'm trying to figure out if I've missed a page, but I guess I haven't.
You gotta stop?
No.
Oh.
I have to wait. I wait a few minutes so that she can turn the page and look at the picture.
What?
I have to wait a minute so Rachel can turn the page and look at the pictures before I talk. The animals were there, and they soon came out, one by one, to meet the handsome prince. Mother Duck was the first to appear. She called to her ducklings, telling them to come out too. Bambi was delighted. He had never before seen birds who could swim, nor for that matter had he seen birds who could do such special tricks. You know about those special tricks the ducks can do because you go to the park and watch them duck down in the water and swim around, don't you? And then on the other page, just across the page, there's a funny animal. Bambi stepped back, surprised, as the next animal, a prickly-looking fellow, came waddling out from behind a big rock. Thumper chuckled. "Don't worry, Bambi," he said. "This is a porcupine, see? He wants to be your friend." Have you seen a porcupine? They have things called quills that stick up on their back. I remember when I was a girl, we had a porcupine come into our yard and climb a big tree we had. And he was way up in that tree for a long time. And it seemed like my dad, as I remember, took a gun and shot him so that he wouldn't bother anybody. And he fell out of the tree, and when he fell out, those quills came out of his back, and we had to go around and pick them up because they were really sharp, because you wouldn't want to step on them. They'd really stick in you. He's found a new friend, Bambi, then, with the porcupine, hasn't he? Well, should we turn the page? I'm going to. Do you have it turned? Okay. Next, Bambi met Bernice. He admired her fine, fluffy coat, and then, very curious, he asks, Why does she wear a mask?" And Thumper chuckled again. "That's not a mask, that's Bambi." Oh, I read that wrong. Forget it, Rachel. Erase that. He said, Thumper said, "That's not a mask, Bambi. That's the way a raccoon is supposed to look." I know you've seen a raccoon because you had them when you were in Evergreen Park. Maybe you have them in Elgin too, do you? Then he has on these pages he has some other friends, and although the beavers were busy working, they too came over to meet Bambi. "I've seen your father," the youngest beaver told Bambi. "He comes here often to take a drink." I bet you could tell me about beavers too. How they build their houses with sticks out there in the water. It looks like one of them's got a stick that he's putting onto that where they're going to have their house in the water now, doesn't it? I'm looking too at those trees. Look at the tree there. It looks like a quaking asp. We have a lot of quaking asps this year that are turning their leaves now. And they're usually yellow when they turn them in the fall, but this year they're turning red, some of them, because we haven't had enough water. But oh, they're really pretty. I know you know about the leaves turning, because when we took a walk in Lord's Park, we picked up leaves that had turned into different colors, didn't we? I'm turning the page, are you? Bambi was just taking a cool, refreshing drink himself when suddenly he heard a chipmunk's loud, nervous chatter. "Run and hide. The fox is near." With a hurry and a scurry, the animals quickly rushed away. But little Thumper, who was so far from his safe, snug home, didn't dare to move. "Maybe the fox won't notice me," he thought. "You think he's going to be in trouble?" All the rest of them ran away, and there he's just staying there. I wonder what's going to happen to him. The squirrel, he's jumping up on the tree, isn't he? The raccoon, it looks like he's heading for that hole in the tree. I guess you've turned the page now. So we'll read what's on this page. Bambi was frightened too, but he knew that his friend was in worse danger than he was. He saw the large fox slowly and slyly creeping toward the tiny, helpless bunny. Bambi thought quickly, surely I can outrun that fox. So without a bit of hesitation, Bambi leaped between the fox and Thumper, and just as Bambi had planned, the fox did start to chase him. Through the forest they ran, over logs and bushes, and rocks and twigs, with the fox never far behind. Bambi's hoofs pounded the ground, and his heart beat fast as the fox got closer and closer. That'd be pretty scary, wouldn't it, to have that fox chasing you? He's got some teeth he could bite you with, too. I hope somebody helps Bambi, because I don't know whether he can outrun that fox at all. Let's turn the page. Maybe he's going to get some help. Let's see. And then, at the very moment when Bambi felt he could run no more, a large, powerful stag stepped out from behind a tree. He lowered his majestic antlers and charged. The fox, who was frightened indeed, stopped in his tracks, turned hastily, and dashed off into the woods. Breathless, Bambi looked up at the stag. He knew that this must be his father, the mighty king of the forest, whom his mother had told him so much about. His father's really a big deer, isn't he? Look at the horns on his head. I bet he was happy that he came along to protect him from that fox. That bluebird's still with him up in the tree, too, isn't it? I wonder where Thumper is. Maybe we'll find out. Turn the page. The king spoke to his little son. You didn't know it, Bambi, but you are much too young to outrun such a fox, he said in a deep, kindly voice. But I am very proud of you. The bluebird has told me how you helped your friend. That same bluebird also told everyone else what had happened. He'd been flying off telling what happened, wasn't he? And by the time the animals arrived at the hill, they saw a very happy Bambi, safe and sound, standing proudly beside his father. Let's turn the page again. It looks like this is the last page. Thumper, who was the happiest of them all, hopped over to Bambi and looked gratefully up at his friend. Thank you for saving my life, Bambi, he said. You're not only my best friend, but you're my bravest friend, too. He was a good friend, wasn't he, to help his little friend and keep him from getting hurt. I hope you liked that story about Bambi, Friends of the Forest. I did. I bet Clarissa will like it too.